because Miss Finnan needs it during third period, so I'm recording this period. All right. So, we're going to use the calculator today, and we're going to solve trig equations. That's what we're going to do. And so the reason you're going to like this is because you don't have to know the values, right? We're going to use the calculator to find the value. So the first thing I want you to write down is this. We're still going to use the circle to find our values. And so I drew this with some of you already. So in the first quadrant, the sine of x is positive. The cosine of x is positive, and that makes the tangent positive. In the second quadrant, the cosine is negative. The sine is positive, which makes the tangent negative. In the third quadrant, the cosine of x is negative, the sine of x is negative, and the tangent of x is positive. And in the fourth quadrant, the cosine is positive, the sine of x is negative, so the tangent is negative. So the way we find this is our reference angle. So to get to this reference angle, we use pi minus 180. But since we're going to use degrees today, we're going to use 180 minus the reference angle. And so to get to this one, I'm going to use 180 plus the reference angle. And to get in this quadrant, I'm going to use 360 minus the reference angle. Minus. So it's minus plus minus. Yes. Okay. Okay, so the first thing before we start is this. Right here, I want to solve. So I'm going to subtract 1 and divide by 5. So the sine of x is negative 1/5. So I'm going to get 2 answers because I want, where is the sign negative? So the sign is negative here and here, correct? Okay, so I'm going to get an answer, but to put my answer, I'm going to have to take 180 plus my answer and 360 minus my answer, okay? Because I want the negative answer. So the calculator is going to give you this one. When we find it, the calculator is going to give you the positive one, I believe. So let's see. So first of all, turn on your calculator. Yeah, I'm hoping. So go to the mode, and you need to be in degrees, not radians, or you're going to get them all wrong. It's right next to the yellow button. So did everybody get to degrees? All right. So to find this answer, let's type in negative 1/5, and let's just see what it gives us, all right? So we're going to type in the calculator the inverse sine of negative 1/5. Not working, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the inverse sine of 1/5. I put the negative 1/5, but we want to find our, so it gives you the same thing. It's like 11.53, right? But I want the positive one, correct? Okay. So So when you do this, if you type in the negative, why did it give me negative 11.53? I'm asking the right people. Now listen. It gave me the negative because this is the inverse. And we restricted the inverse this way. So the negative, it gave me down here, didn't it? It's a half a circle, and it's our restricted, and that's why it gave me the negative, all right? It plopped it down into this quadrant down here. So I want the positive so that I can use this, all right? So if I put in the positive and 1/5, it's going to be the same answer. Does this make sense? Except it's going to give me a positive 11.53 instead of a negative. So here's what I'm going to do. I need 180 plus that mess, and I need 360 minus the mess. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to store it. I'm going to store it, but I want to store the positive one. So I'm going to do the inverse sine girl. Get up here and get a calculator. All right, so I get this answer. So I want to store it. So I'm going to push the store button right here. You actually have to pay attention to me and not Brenda, okay? So the store button, and then it's asking you where do you want to store it. And I want to store it in A. So I'm going to push the green button and the button right under it. Okay? And it says, okay, this is stored now in A. So when I do my answers now, I want 180 plus that. So I'm going to do 180, and I'm going to recall it now. I'm going to do second, recall, and it says, what do you want to recall? And I'm going to say the A. Oh, I forgot the plus. Okay, I typed in a positive 1/5. And so it'll add. That's okay, I'm going to do it again. It is. Okay, so this time I'm going to take 360 minus this. 360 minus, you actually have to put the minus, then you recall it. So I'm going to push second, recall, and it's saying, what do you want to recall? The A. Right. Yeah. Okay. Pomegranate berry. Yeah, we're going to do 3 today. Okay. So now, okay, what am I going to do to solve this? So when I square root 100, so I get plus or minus 10. It's not the answer. So how do I find the answer? No, we're not doing that at all. We're going to do the inverse. We're going to do a positive. Why am I doing positive? Because I want the reference angle. Always. And that gives you that's going to give you this. We're going to save it again. But this time, how many answers are you getting? You're getting 4. Why am I getting 4? Because I get a plus or minus, right? So I'm going to get whatever the reference angle is. I'm going to get 180 minus the reference angle. Because I want the plus and the minus. So I'm going to do the inverse tangent of 10. So I get, for my reference angle, I get 84.289. So I'm going to store that. So I'm going to take 180 minus mine froze. What do you get? And then 180 plus, and then 360 minus. $264 point what? 828? What's the last one? Point what? I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I just want to see your degrees are right. That's what I'm going to do. No, we're not putting whole numbers. All right. No, it does matter. Now you have to go to 5. You want to go out to 5? You be quiet. Yeah, it's not hard. Okay, so Xavier, go ahead and start. The rest of you who need to know how to do number 3, what is it? Lauren, what is the secant? Lauren, zip it. What? It is 1 over the cosine. So if I want to solve this, how do I get rid of this which is in the denominator now? Multiply. So if I multiply both sides, what happens to this one? This one cancels, and this one becomes so I have to take the square root on both sides. This is your reference angle. That's the positive one. So how many answers do you get this time? It's a plus or minus cosine. Where's the plus and the minus cosine? Oh, yeah. No. No. Second and third, it's negative, and it's positive in the first and fourth. So how many answers do you get? 4. I like how you were convincing yourself it was 2. Mm-hmm. And you end up with 4 answers. No, you go ahead and start your homework. You don't need to do this. Yeah, you said you didn't need it. Mm-hmm. What? You can, or you can just put that whole thing, see one answer and store it. It won't mess you up. What? Either way, it's the same thing. You have to get your, make sure you get your parentheses right. I got 50.78768. So if you did that, you're good. And then you get you get your four answers. You get 180 minus, 180 plus, 360 minus. Well, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Yeah, it does. No, it doesn't. Okay, if you typed it, you left out your parentheses. That's why it's not. Yes, you did. You didn't close it. Did you close it after the first one and the second one and then a big one? Let me see it. You're lying. Because this is how math works. Let go of it.
I just closed it. Look.
No, let go of it.
It's like
Here, look it. You see after the 2, is there a parenthesis after that? No, there isn't. I don't care if I'm recording.
She's mean to me.
Say, here you go.
She's really mean to me.
So it's without the parentheses after the 2. That's why it didn't work. Ugh. All right. All right. What am I going to do here? So I'm going to add the 9. Now what? So I know I have to square root it. Is there a secant on your calculator? There isn't. Lauren, what's the secant? You just told me, Lauren. Okay. So if this is 1 over the cosine, what am I going to do with the 9? So now, can I take the square root? Because I already flipped my answer. Okay, so listen, I did this in one step, but I want you to understand. Look, this is equal to this. And so what I did is when I flipped the cosine squared, then I flipped this. So it's not over the 1 anymore, okay? So I just didn't write that down. All right, so this is going to be, what's the square root of 1? And the square root of 9? 3. So now I'm going to do the inverse of 1/3, and that gives me my reference angle. How many answers this time? 4. There's 2 positive and 2 negative. Okay, look back at the first example. I had 2 that time. Okay, so if it's only positive or if it's only negative, then you get 2. Anytime you take the square root, you get plus or minus. Okay. So is everybody good? Everybody knows how to store this? Everybody knows how to do this one? Was there one more? There's 2 more? Okay, so how do I do this? No, we're not. Because what happens if you divide? You lose a term and you get it wrong. So if you don't want to lose a term and get it right, we're going to subtract. Now, what can I factor out? A sign. So now I get the sine of x equals 0, and 4 times the sine of x plus 7 equals 0. So on this one, where does the sine of x equal 0? Okay, so Sine is 0 at 0 and pi. So this one, when I subtract the 7 and divide by 4, okay, so I want the negative, right? What am I going to type in the calculator, though? Positive. That's going to give you your reference angle, but where is sine negative? Which quadrants? In the third and the fourth. So I'm going to get a reference. Sine is positive. Third and fourth, not first and fourth. Oh, I thought you said first and fourth. Third and fourth, sorry. Okay, yeah, I'm losing it. All right, so third and fourth, right? So once I get my reference angle, then I'm going to take 180 plus my reference angle and 360 minus my reference angle. I know. It makes me feel better. Okay. So when you type in the inverse sine is 7/4, what do you get? Why? So does it exist? All right. Does that make you feel better to write DNA one time? All right. You can write it one time. Okay. Okay. What am I going to do here? Why am I not dividing? That's right. So we're going to subtract the secant. So now what can I do? We're not crying. Take out the secant. So what does the secant equal? Why? Is that ever going to happen? It can't happen, so this one doesn't exist, right? This one's going to be undefined. But this one does exist. Well, they're the same thing. So this is my reference angle. So where is sine positive? First and second. So I'm going to have the alpha and the 180 minus the alpha.